It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job. We are your podcast for relatable and relevant conversations with contractors. Hopefully bringing a little entertainment to you as well. My name is Mike. That's Brian.
Hello.
Episode 72 today. We got with us Alex Rodriguez, CEO, founder, Bay Cities Construction out of Torrance. How you doing, sir?
What's up, Alex?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Look forward to talking to you guys about. We're in some unparalleled times, so it's an interesting time to be in business, to have a small business these days.
Very true. And being in California kind of just throws a little bit more of a wrench into the system.
Just a bit.
Yeah. With some of the things that you got to do here and follow.
Absolutely. It's kind of like Mars. It's kind of like Mars being hit by a nuclear bomb all in the same week.
Now go make money. So kind of as we get started here, give us a little insight into how you got started in the industry back in the day, whenever that was, and that road and that journey to where you are now is with Bay Cities Construction.
So 2004, I started Bay Cities Construction, and we were really a company that basically invested in real estate. So we did some real estate development, we flipped houses, and we did that up until the crash. So we did that about 4.5, 5 years. And, after I think 2008, we sold the last property that we had. And, those are some really, after 2008, it was some horrible times.
Yeah.
As, I think everybody in the industry, got hit by just a tsunami of negative economic outlook. And so
the litigation that came with some of the construction
right.
as well, too.
Yeah, we didn't get sued in that respect, but we just had no business. The first year when I started doing retail construction, I think I sold maybe $48,000 worth of business.
Wow.
Our average job size was like $2,500. It was really bad.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was bad probably 3 years after. I mean, I don't think I started treading water. I kept trading water for about 3 years. It wasn't until maybe 2011, 2012 that, we didn't do retail construction. So I didn't have a website, didn't have, repeat customers to lean on, all of the things that you need during today's times. But what I did have is, I went back to school and I got a business degree and then ultimately an MBA because I didn't want to be caught off guard. I didn't understand why the economy was, what the genesis of 2008 was. And so if you don't know what happened, you just know that you were impacted negatively. So I went back to school, I got my degree, I got my education, and I reinvested every little bit of excess money on myself, on getting better. Strategically, I spent a lot of money also on marketing, on developing outbound communication between us and potential customers. And really, it's kind of Groundhog Day to see the same things that I did back then are what are necessary for contractors to do, and not only contractors, but the suppliers, the plumbers, the roofers, all of the support vendors in construction. And everything that I did over the next 7 years after 2008 is what we're going to have to do moving forward over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So what got you, if we could back up a little bit, what were you doing before 2004 that kind of pushed you into starting your own business?
Well, I haven't had a job since I was like 18, I think. It could have been 19. I had a security guard company before that, so it was a totally different industry.
Yeah, wow.
So I went from providing security, on-site securities, patrol services, that type of stuff, to flipping houses, and then ultimately, full retail construction for residential customers. I don't do commercial work. I do just.
Is that what you guys are doing now? You're doing custom home builds now?
Yeah, we do anything that's stick frame construction. That's residential. We do earthquake bolt down. We do large building seismic retrofitting for soft story buildings, which is basically buildings that have tuck under parking that are built on piers and posts. So anything that's stick building construction, we will do. That's residential. That's what we're doing now. So we remodel kitchens and bathrooms, bolt down houses, and do additions, obviously. And we're doing a few ADU ground up builds.
Wow.
So we've definitely, since 2008, I've expanded the service offerings,
Right.
and that's part of my overall strategy to not put all your eggs in one basket, to be able to have a diverse group of customers.
And I imagine that's probably helping out right now with some things maybe slowing down and others still staying busy. You're able to kind of maintain a business flow.
Yeah, it's all about creating a full pipeline so that you can pick what the best customers are, or the best match customers are for what we can provide. Where if you don't do that, if you don't have a full pipeline, you're at the mercy of whatever leads come in through the door. And many of them are not a good match for the vendors that you have and the skill sets that you have. So we don't want to be learning on the job, new work. We want to sign on customers that we already have vendors to be able to provide the work, right? So that people are happy and we provide a good job and we don't put ourselves in harm's way.
Well, I think if you get into a situation where you're just taking any job that comes to you, then you run into budgeting issues and workflow issues and a bunch of other things because you're not really taking the time to.
Well, of course,
you're at the whim. Yeah,
right, and that's the pain and suffering that I had the first 3 to 5 years after 2008. I had to take anything that I had to make it work, even though maybe we didn't have the expertise in that. And you end up not making any money, and the people that you're working for, they're pissed because, it wasn't done as fast as they wanted or at the price that they wanted, or any other challenge that comes up by being a newbie at a particular task, right? So you're better off picking the jobs or matching the jobs, new customers with the skill sets that you have.
Yeah.
Versus trying to make anything work because you need the revenue desperately.
And you guys are obviously acting, or it sounds like you're, and correct me if I'm wrong, acting as a general, but are you guys self-performing any of the work, or do you guys sub out everything?
No, we do some of the work and we sub out. We do almost probably 40% in-house and 60%.
Well, that's quite a bit still.
Yeah, we do quite a bit because I don't. A lot of the when we're taking on kind of a new vertical, we end up taking a smaller job and using it as a learning ability. Like I wouldn't, before I would agree to build the whole house, I would have had probably 6 or 7 jobs where we did an addition that's 500 square feet.
Right.
Because after a certain point, you have the vendors for the concrete work, the excavation, all of the different components, right? So now when you get a job to build a whole house, you have all the vendors. You have vendors for excavation, for concrete, whether it's the pouring, the rebar work, etc. So learning these things organically in-house is the way to go, I believe, versus trying to depend on a vendor and hoping that you chose the right vendor for that job.
Yeah, and that quality work and
and that's a challenge. That's a challenge now because everybody who's good is working. So the people that are available, they're available for a reason sometimes.
That's very true. So kind of maybe speak to a little bit, because you're kind of in a unique situation. We talk to a lot of trade contractors that they are the drywall guy or the framing guy or the plumber. And we also talk to a lot of generals where, they sub out everything. So you kind of have that unique situation where you have not only labor to maintain and manage and hire and train and do all those things, but you also have subs that you have to maintain relationships and hire and vet and do all those kind of things. So what's kind of maybe speak to the balancing act a little bit there that goes on inside what you guys do?
Well, look, taking on new vendors is absolutely required if you're going to expand, because you can never, I hired 2 key people at the beginning of COVID. Literally, I hired a new project manager and an interior designer. And then the next week, COVID hit and it was a full shutdown. The phone stopped ringing. Internet traffic dropped by 30%. Like it seemed like it was the beginning of the end.
Right.
In mid February, I guess, and it manifested fully in March. And I didn't lay off anybody. I think everybody's first reaction was to do that, but my thinking was, look, I can't do this alone, whether it's good or bad. I kind of if you use kind of a war analogy, you can't go into battle by yourself. You're going to get killed. So I toughed it out. We had a little bit of savings, and I used it. I cut my salary. I didn't give myself a salary. In fact, I didn't give myself a salary for the last 4 months, because I've been putting all the money back into the business and marketing and making sure that we're building, we're shoring up our balance sheet. But because I didn't do that, my project manager came with literally 10, 11 key vendors. And now that the work is back, we could say yes to all of it because we're staffed for it. So I think that was a gamble that paid off. It could have gone both ways. Look, I'm no genius, but it could have gone both ways. If it would have been the other way, I would have, probably blown through maybe 20 or 30 grand in salaries in a few weeks, and it would have been over. Yeah. Well, or we would have been in a different position than we are now. I don't know if it would have been over, but so I think that you have to kind of be strategic in your thinking, and ultimately what you have to have a strategy for growth, and understand that if you're by yourself, the likelihood of getting killed off is a lot higher. You make better decisions when you have the right group of people around you than if you try and do it all by yourself. Even, sometimes many times I've changed my mind about stuff because my staff members talked me out of it. And many times that was the right move. Most of the time, I think it was the right move, because you can make a better decision when you have key people that do know what they're talking about. I'm not talking about bringing in, your Aunt Jane who doesn't know anything about construction and ask her what she thinks. But if you're dealing with a good team, and you're going to get a better outcome, I think, if you listen to them.
Yeah. So maybe you kind of go into that a little bit. What does your team look like? What kind of positions do you guys have there that you use to kind of collaborate in some of that decision-making process?
Well, I have a CFO that went to the same MBA school that I went to. I've got Brian, who does marketing and follow-up sales and all the social media. My daughter went to MBA school, and she does a lot of the online marketing. So she creates and adds to the web page that we have. We have a website that's got I think 11,000 pages or something crazy like that. We got 400 blog articles. We've got a few hundred videos on YouTube that Brian's helped me create over the last few years. I think that our communication component is the biggest defensive arm to this economic downturn. Our web traffic went from, historically, we were always stuck at about between 2,500 and 5,000 views a month, and we're well over 11,000 views a month now, which has a big impact on your inbound leads.
Yeah.
If we're getting 60 leads a month, and let's say of those 60 leads, maybe 15 are real, and we close 5 deals a month consistently, and the average job size is 50,000 plus, you could have a very sustainable business model even during the downturn. The key is getting enough of the inbound leads so that you can pick through the jobs that you want. They're a good match. And when I say this, the jobs you want, I don't want it to come across as like I'm a prima donna, but I really do believe that you make money by doing the jobs you're good at.
Yeah.
And you run a lot of risk trying to learn on the job and try to figure stuff out on jobs you don't have experience with, and you end up not making money, or sometimes losing money,
and losing reputation and not doing your job correctly. And
of course. Yeah. So the key is to have enough outbound communication to potential customers that are the ones you're looking for, and that way you can survive and maybe even thrive, as other competitors are not adapting to the demands of the current market condition. You're going to take their potential customers, because no one will ever know. If you're a vendor that maybe is you're a contractor who's awesome, has a great list of suppliers and subcontractors, but nobody knows you exist, you're not going to make it. You can't depend on, the last 3 people that you did a job that they tell 1 or 2 people.
Right.
You need thousands of people knowing that you exist every month, so that of those thousands that get your message. And what I'm talking, when you talk about reach, you're trying to reach maybe 15, maybe 30,000 people, depending on what you're trying to sell. But you need a reach of about 20,000 people for you to be able to pick enough leads out of there that are
be selective and smart. Yeah.
How are you guys going about in terms of that online marketing strategy? Is it email? Are you using search engine optimization? Is it a mix? Are you also utilizing social media as well? How does that work for you guys?
Yes to all of it. So what we do is we trade quality information. So the blog articles, the videos that we make, it isn't, hey, I'm Alex, come buy from me. Hey, right. I'm Alex, come buy from me. It's like, hey, listen, if you were curious about how to build an ADU, this is how you do it. If you're curious about windows, like we're going to be putting out we have a really good vendor for vinyl windows. We're going to be putting out a tremendous amount of content on educating the public about what makes one window better over the other. So we're trading quality content for attention. That's it. That's the deal. If you don't produce quality content, you get no attention. So that's our inbound strategy, meaning we put out our content out into the different social platforms, right? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and it's out there. So when the folks start researching these different projects, we come up not only once or twice, but 15 or 20 times for different stuff.
Disciplines. Yeah.
And in any industry, if you do this, because none of your competitors are willing to do this, don't have the resources to do it, or don't think that it's important to do it, you'll have a competitive advantage for a long time. And that's a big win. And that's what you need now. The content that we created in mid-February and through last week, we're reaping the rewards now. Because once everybody got over the panic and the initial shock of 6 weeks, they started saying, hey, look, I'm looking around my house and there's a lot of stuff that I don't like, and now I'm looking at it every day. So maybe I'm going to change it.
Yep.
And this is not only in construction, this is in other industries. I have a friend who manufactures, his family has a mattress business. They have a factory in Florida, and he wanted to sell the business for the last year. It was real bad. And he's got everybody working. Because people are wanting mattresses. They're like, I'm in bed all the time now,
sleeping in and working from home.
My back hurts, like in a new mattress.
Yeah. And you have disposable income because you're not blowing it on eating out. People were spending $500-600 a month eating out, and now if you don't do that for a few months, guess what? You just rack up $3,000-4,000,
really quick.
That's what I tell people all the time. I mean, my wife and I were fortunate enough to maintain our jobs, and we work for great companies in both the insurance industry, where insurance is recession proof in my opinion. But we stopped playing softball and bowling and going out to eat and doing all these other things and working from home for a number of weeks, saving on gas. We were literally saving thousands of dollars a month when I added it all up. And to your point, while it's unfortunate, there are some people that, lost their job and aren't making it through in some aspects, but for the large majority, there's quite a bit of disposable income, which in turn is, where you guys are coming at. Maybe speak to the social media a little bit, or kind of the turning point. You guys are obviously very intentional about it. And I think that you can kind of see a split in the road coming for contractors, right? I feel like the social media and all that kind of stuff it happened for a lot of other industries pretty a long time ago, or it started pushing that way. But for contractors, I feel like there's people like you and other people we've talked to that are going down that road and being the forefront of that. And then there's others that just, are set in their old ways and they're not doing it. Where was the turning point for you guys, and what caused that decision to be so intentional about the social media and everything else?
Well, so right after when I first started doing at about 2008, I didn't have a website. So I depended on Service Magic, which is now called, I think, Home Advisor.
Right.
And they're a lead producer, right? But they sell the lead to you and they sell the lead to a bunch of other people. And by the time you talk to the customer, they've been bombarded with like 60 calls. And that didn't work out. I think in the beginning, when I first started doing business with Service Magic, I didn't have a choice, right? I didn't have a website.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And then I looked at how much we spent at the end of that first year and I was like, like there's got to be something else. There's got to be another way to do this.
Well, no, but you're almost contributing to bidding yourself down, right?
Correct.
You're in a position where the guys getting the same call from 7 different people, and it's like, okay, well, who can do the cheapest? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right, which leads down the path that you don't want to go, right? And you're literally shooting yourself in the face by participating in that as a contractor, I think. So what we did is my first year when I went back to business school, our case study was this little company called HubSpot. And HubSpot provides you with an integrated software that'll help you manage the website, manage the email campaigns, manage the outbound messaging. And it'll tell you how many pages your customers viewed and what type of content they viewed, so that when you call them, it isn't that you're cold and you know what they're calling about.
Right.
And also on our end, it gives us a little bit of info on how serious they are. So people that are just kind of at the top of the funnel and just beginning to think about their project, they'll probably look at 2 or 3 pages. People that look at 25 of our website pages or more than 4 or 5 blog articles, they're way closer to buying.
Right.
So they're the ones that need the most attention, and it helps us service the customer better. So when we did that, we learned the best practices for inbound marketing, and then we integrated that with our sales process, and that's been a game changer. So in response to your question about what about the old school people don't want to do that, I think that the 2 things: if you don't want to do that, you should probably get used to the fact that you're going to go out of business, or you're going to make a lot less money.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a chance. Everybody wants to see a review. Everybody wants to not ask their neighbor who did they use to paint their house. They want to look at the market. Like if you look at Yelp and what Yelp is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. You can go into a town you've never been in and find a restaurant for the food that you're looking for, and go in there and walk in there with the confidence that you're probably going to have a good experience. Doesn't happen 100% of the time, but if you have a company, a restaurant that's got 700 reviews and they're all close to 4 stars for sushi, you're probably going to have some pretty darn good sushi. And that is expanding outside of just the restaurant industry. So if you don't recognize that trend, people's trend, then you're not going to be as successful as people that do.
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely a need for transparency in society right now. And
well, I think partly because there's so much information.
Yeah.
They, I mean, they need to know. It's like going back to what you said. If you get 60 leads in a month, really 15 of those might be actually viable.
Correct.
So, yeah, there's so much information. People are requiring authenticity,
transparency,
transparency.
Prove to me that I should let you in my house.
Yeah.
Right.
Because think about it, ultimately construction, it requires a tremendous amount of trust. You're going to go in there, you're going to wreck somebody's house, you're going to demolish everything.
Yep.
And that's the easy part. The question is, can you put it back together quick enough, at an acceptable time period? So I think that the way that you prove that you can instill a certain amount of confidence is by saying, "Hey, look, this is what I do. This is how I do it. this is what I have blog articles that tell you what construction costs are. Nobody wants to talk about cost. I do it all the time. I put a blog article that says, hey, look, if you're going to remodel a kitchen, it could cost you, if you do ABC, good, better, best. If you have kind of a lower budget, this is what it'll cost. If you have a mid-grade budget, this is what it'll cost. And then if you're, Daddy Warbucks and all you care about is having super luxury, this is what it could cost. And the fact that we're just willing to have that conversation openly is a great way to start the conversation with the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth is, the worst thing that you could do is do a design for somebody that is above what their means are. The outcome is disappointment across the board. So let's talk about what your budget is, since the customer, especially about construction, their number one concern is, can I afford to do this? And with the money that I have, how much can I do?
Yep.
So let's create content that addresses the most pressing issue that they have, which is, can I get this done for the money that I have?
Yeah.
And
that's a good point too,
so
right?
simple.
Like talking about the cost. I mean, people understand you have to make money. You have a business, right? So being clear, that's back to my point about being clear and transparent about those things. It creates a level of trust, right, between you and that customer.
Absolutely. One of the things that we're doing now that I've never done is I'm actually charging for estimates. So if you have a set of plans, and let's say you want to do an addition, and you have a set of plans, you kind of researched it, you found an engineer and an architect, and you want us to price it out, I'm charging folks $500 to do that. And some people are like, what? You're not going to do it for free? I'm like, no, I can't. I have a lot of paying customers, and it isn't fair for my paying customers that I'm actively in construction on to pull my attention away from them to go and give my time for free. Because, we only have, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I work about 12 hours a day commonly, and I don't want to work 20. So if I'm getting paid for the 12 that I'm working, and I'm stacking on people that want attention, they have to pay. They have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that our industry has given away too much for too long. And then, for example, I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. A lawyer will only give you an hour free for their time.
Yeah.
If that.
And if that, but they'll give you an hour. Typically you can find it doesn't matter if they're an $800 an hour attorney or if they're $400 an hour attorney. They'll give you an hour of their time just to meet you and see if you're a good match, with each other, if the case is something that they want to do. So why is it that we're expected to drive all over town, burn $80 in gas every 2 days, and give the 15, 20 years of experience that we have away for free?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we do that? How am I going to put my kids through college if I spend 40% of my time doing that? You can't.
Yeah.
Or what you have to do is you have to add all of the time that you didn't get paid. You have to add that expense to the people that said yes.
Right.
That's not fair either.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because you have to compensate for all the no's with the people that say yes.
Yep.
So I don't think that that's fair either. So, what I think is fair is that that we charge a nominal fee for the amount of time. And honestly, I think on a $300,000 job, it'll probably cost us about $1,800 to find out what it's going to cost in labor to get, to go in deep, not to use some software program that spits out some price. I'm talking about like a real price based on the vendors knowing what's going to happen and all that. The type of time that should only be invested in customers that are your customer, not potential customers. So I think that it's important for folks, for vendors, contractors, and the suppliers, for when dealing with a new potential customer, to charge for your time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you should charge $500. You should charge whatever you feel is reasonable in relation to the amount of time you're going to put into it. But this, when I first when I was starting my business, I would get calls from these real estate agents that wanted me to go and price out this entire thing for their buyer that was going to buy the house, potentially was going to buy the house. And I never got any of those jobs ever because the people sometimes didn't buy the house, or they didn't qualify for the loan, or whatever, their offer wasn't accepted. And I spent so much time driving around and nothing ever manifested from it. So, I think it's totally fair for.
Well, it brings a level of seriousness to the table,
Skin
right?
in the game.
And
Sure.
validity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what. I'm gonna give you an interesting stat about this. When I ask for the money, for these estimates, I get 95% of them say no. But you know, the 5% that say yes,
Probably
I
close
get
90%
the job.
of those. Yeah.
I get the job.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with all that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with all that. So if I get in a year, I get 100 leads that are kind of like above what I call it top of the funnel. I don't want to call it tire kickers because that's not nice, but they're kind of tire kickers. They don't know if they're going to do this yet.
Yeah.
They don't have enough information yet to make a decision. And so if it's 5 jobs out of the 100 leads that I get, and the average job, in this case is $200,000, we got $1 million worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't spend
the extra time on the 9 to 5. Yeah.
Correct. So how can I have time to build out the 5 jobs if I spent 95% of my time chasing deals that are never going to manifest?
Yep.
Get it?
Yep.
So I think if we start looking at this stuff as an industry, I think we'll be all better off for it. And the truth is that when you have more time to deal with your customers you have, they're going to be happy. The ones that are paying, when you pay attention to them because you have time, they're happy customers, and you'll get your organic referrals from them too. So I think that this is something that we have to revisit as an industry for sure.
Oh, I agree 100%. And it's like you said, it's changing that mindset inside the industry, because for so long it's been done a certain way.
Yeah. Simple and brilliant. I mean,
what's the future look like for you guys? Where are you guys headed down the road?
We're probably going to have the biggest year we've ever had this year.
That's a common theme I'm hearing.
Yeah.
We've heard that from several different contractors.
The ones that are willing to put in the work and do it the right way, they're definitely thriving right now for sure. Yeah,
look, I'm not happy about our condition, as the state of our economy in any way, and I don't want to come across like that. Right. I don't. What I'm saying is I don't think that we're doing as good as we are because of the economic condition. Because I think if it was a healthy economy, we'd probably be doing better. My point is that if you are able to focus on the jobs that are good, focus and put all of your excess money into marketing so that people know you exist, and you focus on the good customers, you will have good outcomes. You'll be able to build the jobs on the budget that you have established. You'll be able to build jobs successfully because you picked the right job, and you're going to have happy people referring you and writing you public reviews. They're going to help you in the future. Yeah. If you can do that on a consistent basis, and maybe hire people that'll help support that and invest your excess capital in those things, I think that you'll do well, regardless of how our current state of affairs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like you said, it's not so much that you're happy about the certain current situation, or that you're thriving because of the current situation. You're thriving because of the reaction to the current situation and what you've done to pivot and prepare, and
it's like the anti 2008 right now for you guys.
Yeah, it's I still think that if we have that's a separate podcast altogether. If we have a dollar crisis or a debt crisis, I think that the situations would be very different. However, in any contraction, the important response is that you do more. You do more of the marketing, more to reach. Because look, in any economy, there will be people that have money. Mm-hmm. Yep. In any economy, it doesn't matter how bad it is. William Randall Hearst built Hearst Castle during the depth of the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. He had 97 workers working in the middle of nowhere during the middle of the Depression. To my point, there will always be people that have that kind of capital. The question is, did you do enough to reach them?
To get in front of them,
Get in front of them. Yeah. And if you contract your marketing and you contract your sales activity, you won't. You just won't. And that's really what I'm saying. It's not it's a little bit counterintuitive, because when people get scared, they contract, just like everything around them is contracting. Yep. When you should be putting yourself out there and expanding. And I'm not talking about buying stuff you don't need. What I'm saying is, instead of just putting money in the bank and looking at it, you should be putting money to work to invest in next week's lead count or next month's lead count, and be looking at it like that, and having creativity in how you do it. Because maybe you don't have money to do it. Maybe you have to do free podcasts like what we're doing now, or you have to do blog articles that don't cost you anything to put them out there. Maybe you're doing video and you're editing your own video because you don't have the money to do it. But the idea that you should be doing these activities is what counts. It's what's important.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that we're doing better than we did last year is because we were so worried, so concerned about how bad it was going to be, that we went overboard. I mean, overboard is probably not the right way to describe it, but we did more than what we did last year.
Did more than you thought you had to. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the only way to compensate for the tsunami of bad news. You have to,
but it also proves your theory, right? Like, it also proves what you're doing works, and in any situation. Yeah
for sure. So I feel for a country. Our country's going through some really rough times, economically, socially, and I'm an optimist. I think America's an amazing place. I think the American people are amazing, and we're some of the most creative, hardworking, dedicated people out there. I think we're gonna come out of this maybe better for it. Not that happy that we were going through it, but I know that as far as countries go, we have the grit and determination still that made us great once, and I think that we have what it takes to come out of this in a better position, for sure.
Very cool, man. Yeah. Well, before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity to let the people know where to find you, social media or
plug all that stuff
websites, or how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, so they can go. We have two websites. We have baycitiesconstruction.com for the common construction services, and then the specialty site that we have is softstoryretrofitpros.com. softstoryretrofitpros.com, and that's for our house bolting and seismic retrofitting business.
Very cool.
My name's Alex, and our Alex Rodriguez. You can also reach Brian at the office at 888-881-7355. We're always looking for strong vendors. If you're really good at your trade and you're a person of your word and you come through, we'd love to hear from you.
Very cool, man.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much for your time, Alex. It's been very insightful, and I think good for a lot of people to hear and see the track record that you guys have put out there doing what you guys are doing. So we appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I'll be, if you invite me any other time, I'd love to talk to you as we progress through this insane economy and time.
Yeah, we will definitely have to put you on the list to get you back here, man, for sure.
All right. Thank you, fellas.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Stay in touch.
Okay. Be well. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Hey, thanks for listening. And if you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.